Custom front doors. Let's build one together.
Desert King windows, we knock out the weather.
All right, so at Desert King Windows, I know we're called Desert King Windows, but did you also know we do doors? Boy, do we. We do a ton of doors. We literally have thousands of options for your front door alone. So let's jump into front doors. This particular program, we're actually going to build one from scratch. We're gonna design it from the ground up as if it's going into my house right now, and I'm gonna show you how easy that process is. And this process, basically, if you were to call us up for a free, no pressure in-home estimate, we send somebody out to your house, and this is what they do, the exact same program. And I'm gonna show you step by step how easy it is to build that door. Let's start right here. Now, we're gonna start with a standard 3068 door. And what we mean by 3068 means that it's 3 feet wide, 6'8" tall. And that is it's a standard size, because when you custom size the door, that's when it starts getting expensive. And well, maybe one of the things is that you do want to change the size of your door. We can do that. Check out our video on how we resize openings, how we can make a smaller door into a bigger door. Check that one out, because that's also an option. So first of all, let's make it a French entry door. Let's make it a little bit, no, you know what, let's go side lights. Let's go single door, but we're gonna go 2 side lights. Side lights, those little windows on the side. It's gonna make it a more grand entrance. We can make the opening whatever size we want. So how about a transom on top? Glass on top, that's an entryway right there. All right, cool. Now frame saver, you ever heard of coil wrapping or anything like that? Basically what it is it's aluminum wrap that goes around the outside. When it comes to frame saver, that's exactly what this is. It's a color match aluminum that basically covers up anything that could possibly rot or be deteriorated by the sun. So the frame saver saves your frame. Makes sense, right? Frame saver, definitely worth it. For the swing of the door, you can go in swing or out swing. For a front door, it is definitely more customary to go in swing on that. Out swing doors for an exterior door are pretty rare to do. Reason is you put the hinges on the exterior side. So they have to be special hinges that you can't have the pin taken out of it. And that's just for security reasons. Typically you want in-swing doors for exterior doors. All right, moving along here, what else we got? All right, so we have different types of front doors, okay? You can go with fiberglass for the material. You can go with steel, the front door. Any of those will work. I personally like fiberglass because it looks like wood. If you watched any of my videos, I really like the look of wood, okay? So I like woodworking, that's what I do on my spare time. So I like the look of wood. That's why I go with fiberglass, because it can look like wood, but doesn't have all of the upkeep and maintenance that wood does. You're gonna be hard pressed to see the difference between the two. But then you have steel doors. Now steel is gonna be the absolute best for security. And this is a 20 gauge steel that this particular manufacturer uses, which is a very high grade of steel. You won't have those dents and stuff. If you go down the aisle at one of the big box stores and you buy one of those steel doors, it's a thinner gauge, in which case that means that it can dent. And if you dent a steel door, it never goes away. You can never get rid of it. And so it being on a front door, you know, it could be something simple. You're carrying in a table and you ding the front door. It's always gonna be there. It never goes away. And so that's the problem with steel. But if you go with this 20 gauge steel, this particular manufacturer is Provia, just an excellent manufacturer of doors. That gauge of steel, that 20 gauge, will not dent nearly as easily as most of the steel doors out there. So I mean, this will take a ballpoint hammer to get a good dent in there. You're probably thinking, well, Jason, it's metal. What about the energy efficiency of it? And you're right, that is definitely something you need to consider for it. A lot of steel doors, if it's wrapped all the way around, if it's 100 degrees on one side, guess what? It transfers to the other side, right? That's common knowledge. Metal transfers heat and cold very easily. These ones are thermally broken. They're very different in how they work. They're not going to expand and contract. They don't move. The steel doesn't touch the other side, so you can actually have heat on one side. At least it doesn't pass through as easily as if it were an all steel door. So this still is going to be an energy efficient product. Now moving along, let's see here. Now the door style. Now this straight up, my first question that I always ask is, well, do you want glass in your door or not? Basically, general rule of thumb, the more glass, the more it tends to cost. If you have smaller glass, it doesn't cost quite as much. So, but again, all of the door manufacturers we carry, you have a low E option for the glass, so it's not gonna hurt your energy efficiency either. That's obviously a big part of it. Now we're getting into the styles of the door here. Now obviously you can see all the different styles that they have, okay? I'm going for fancy. I want something nice here. Let's go big and bold here. I'm gonna go with this right here. This is 2/3 light, okay? Or is it 3/4 light? I think it's 2/3 light, that one right there. That means 2/3 of it is glass. So we're gonna go with that because I think that's a nice look. I think that one's just a little too much. It looks more like a patio door when it's just all glass like that. So I like to have a little bit of something in there. Getting through here, sidelight style. Ooh, we can change up the sidelight styles. Heck yeah. Let's see here. There we go. That one matches right there. That's nice. Let's go with that. And moving along here into color. Now, these are great. Now, what's great about this particular manufacturer, Provia, that I've never seen another manufacturer do, is that whatever color you pick here, they send the same color in sealant as well. And so that way everything matches on your door. Because, I mean, look how many different colors there are. There's literally dozens of colors. We can't stock that many colors of sealant. That's a lot. So they take the guesswork out of it and say, here you go, this is everything that you need to install the door. So let's see here, going through here, I'm gonna go with, let's go with something poppy here. Maybe like a green or red, or you know what, mountain berry red. Let's go with that, mountain berry red. All right, let's see here. And that's the entry door there. Side lights and the frame are all red. Maybe we can change the frame color. Let's say, where you at here? Mountain berry red, bam. Looking good, looking good. Now the frame is prime only on this, but we're actually going to change that up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with, let's go with the fiberglass color here. Just for gits and shiggles. Ooh, little oak look here. Let me try this, okay. I go with this oak look here for fiberglass, huh? So we're gonna have a nice wood looking front door, color of that. Let's see here, I like a darker stain myself, but something that's gonna show off the movement in the wood. That's what I always like. This caramel looks nice. Let's roll with that. Yeah, that looks really nice. Now, and what's cool about this is that what's the color outside doesn't necessarily have to be the color inside. So maybe the inside you have a certain style going on, you have a certain color that's predominant, roll with it. Outside can look completely different. But we're gonna go with the caramel stain here on the outside. So we're gonna stick with the caramel. The cladding will be the cladding. And moving on here. Now let's go to the glass itself. Like I said, we're going fancy here because money's no object, right? We're just doing what we want. Decorative glass, bam. Ooh, or we can go maybe a little wrought iron look. Yeah, either one of those works really well. Decorative glass, here's some glass options here. You got the symphony style there. Ooh, that's real nice. I like the gemstone. Man, actually, one of my neighbors I think has this one right here, Constance. I like that. Genesis is that one there. I think I'm gonna go with the Barcelona there. Let's have fun with that. Of course, you can do, if it's not a front door, maybe it's a side door of the house, maybe it's a patio door, you can actually add in some blinds. So you can have little blinds in between the two panes of glass there. Privacy glass, you can go with just the privacy glass. That's actually a very popular thing to do, especially for the side lights. So some people want just privacy glass and side lights. Totally fine. Minimum Energy Star performance level. You can say no, or you can say yeah. So basically what it is, these decorative glass inserts is what they are, and they go into the door. There's actually 3 panes of glass in there. And so that is because one of them has to be the decorative pane. And then of course you have the sealants, and you have the low E and all that good stuff on there. Now that is a good looking door. Now let's talk about hardware. We got a lot of different hardware options here. If it were a solid door, you'd be prompted for a peephole, if you want a peephole. But this one is all glass, so you don't get a peephole. Your door is a giant peephole. You got the Georgian lock set there, or we can go with a couple of different options here. It outlines all of them here. Let's go with Schlage. We all know Schlage. I've heard that. That's a popular name. Here's the different handle sets that Schlage offers for that door. M-Tech, really nice stuff. Really nice. Classic Schlage. Looks like just you can go with a knob or a handle on that, and then or you can go into an actual entry set here. M-Tech Mortise. Ooh, that sounds nice. Man, that's some good looking hardware. Or you can just go with a giant door pull. Multi-point lock, and you want to secure it up a little bit. Check out my video on patio door safety. You'll see how a multi-point lock operates and why it makes it so much more secure. So it's actually pretty cool how that works. Ooh, keypad, here we go. You can go with a little keypad there. Now, if your kids are like my kids, and they lose the house key about every other week, you install a little keypad on the front door. You know what, I don't think the silver is gonna go well with that. I'm gonna change up the color of the hardware. Let's change up the finish. I think that silver looks a little funny on there, so let's change it. We can go with bronze. Bam! Not bad. We can go with black. Antique brass, that one's in style. The antique brass is in style. Satin brass is real nice too. I'm gonna go with the bronze, because we have the wrought iron there, so I'm gonna go with bronze or black. You know, I'm gonna go black actually. Think about it here. Let's see if there's one for the electronic keypad. Yep, bam, right there, good to go. We can have a kick plate on there if you'd like. See how it's a little toggle. Mail slot, there you go. You can throw some, so the mailman, the mail slot's pretty low on that door, and it automatically puts it down there because, Well, it's all glass on the top. I don't think you want to mail slot that far off the ground, so nope. And then we can also order extra tumblers, so key to like. So let's say this is a Schlage lock on here now. We can actually order extra tumblers from Schlage that we can put in your other Schlage locks that will key all your doors alike. So it's a nice little feature there. Or we can have it keyed to a specific number because little numbers on a Schlage key. Those are the different combinations of how the Schlage is cut. That way every single key is unique. So each one of those numbers tells you what that key is. And we can actually take that number, put it in here, and it'll cut the same key. Pretty cool, huh? And then you have, of course, the door casing. So that's the casing that goes around the outside. I have a video on casing and trim. You can check that out, learn all that. Let's see here, looks like this colonial is in most houses. We'll just roll with that. Now you can actually match the casing to the door. So let's say you're getting a wood looking door. You can get a wood casing around there that's staying the same color. And then of course the bottom shoe mold, we gotta finish it off nicely down there because when we take out your old door, your old threshold, your builder grade threshold might be very, very different than what's going in. And so we order an extra shoe molding that goes across the bottom. So just in case ours is gonna be a little more narrow, a little more sleek, the rest of that threshold that gets taken out, we got to fill that void because your flooring stops where your current door is. So we're going to fill in that extra thing. That's well, if you haven't been doing this for a long time, you may not know that's coming. So shoe mold finish, we go with the black because we want to match the threshold, right? We want to match the bottom. And let's see here, base blocks. This is another little molding piece that's pretty cool that you can actually change up how the molding goes around the outside of it. Adds a lot of character to the home, and that's a really cool little feature there. Now let's go into the options here. Very important. All right, so you got brick mold that goes on the exterior. That's basically the exterior casing is the brick mold. This right here, threshold, is very important. So this manufacturer has an adjustable threshold, which we always recommend an adjustable threshold. 50 years old just settles a little bit less than a house that's 10 years old. It's always going to be settling. And what happens is that puts pressure on all of the rough openings in your house, and that could technically change and shift things up. It happens. An adjustable threshold on the bottom means that you can always make sure to adjust and have a good seal on the door decades later. So definitely go adjustable. This one actually has a couple of different adjustable ones. This one's an auto adjusting threshold. Basically means that the stops, they alter along with the open and close of the door. Here there's also an ADA compliant threshold, and that's so a wheelchair can roll right over it. It doesn't have the bump up. ADA threshold means that a wheelchair can roll right across it. So that is necessary in commercial applications, or if that's what you need for your home, we can absolutely do that, no problem. Let's see, what else do we have here? The hinge types, very important. So first of all, let's do bronze threshold. We got to do that. Let me actually a quick note on these on the different finishes of thresholds. There's two kinds of finishes for a threshold of a door. There's bronze, which is a dark color. It looks almost black, but it's not quite. And then milled. Milled is silver. That is used, the only time you'd use milled is if you're going for like an industrial look. There's a certain look that you're going for. Other than that, you're almost always going to go with a bronze threshold. Doesn't show dirt very easily. It's going to wear better longer. Hinge type, this manufacturer, because this is a really good manufacturer, they only offer ball bearing hinges. It's not an expensive upgrade, and it's always going to make your door operate very, very smooth, very, very nicely. So the only time that you don't go with the ball bearing is when it needs to be auto closed, spring load, the spring hinges. So that's like from the interior of your house to the garage area has to have an auto close, a spring-loaded door hinge. And so that way it automatically closes. And that's in case of fires, because fires apparently happen in the garage. Of course, you got the hinge finishes there. We're gonna go with bronze. Keep it all looking nice and the same, uniformed. Installation kit, this is for your project manager. If Johnny or Jason or Justin or all of our project managers start with a J. Anybody that starts with a J comes out to your house to measure your windows and doors, this is his problem. This is what he worries about. You don't have to worry about this. We worry about this. Strength rating. Okay, so this is like coastal, or if you have a certain wind load that you have to abide by. In Texas, that does happen near the coast, near the Gulf area. So, and that's our door right there. It's our nice fancy door. Now it looks like we can also do, you wanna see it from the outside? We can see it from the outside. You wanna see it from the outside and the outside? We can do that too. So you can do all different views. And there's also one really cool view that you can do. Let me show you that now. So here's a really cool feature. You get to picture it on your house without actually having to do it in your brain. Isn't that great? Bam! Let's see here. We're gonna back up. This is what we're at Desert King headquarters here. So this is what it's going to look like. Bam! That's the photo we're using right there. That's the way our door is going to look, huh? I think that's pretty neat. That looks good. think it's a little different for the storefront. It doesn't really work with the storefront, but it looks pretty good. It's that simple to build a custom door. We walk you through every single step and makes life easier. So hope you enjoyed it. Choosing new windows can be overwhelming. There's tons of information out there and AI might miss the mark. But our free window buyer's guide, backed by 25 years of experience, makes it simple. No overcomplicated jargon, just facts to help you decide with confidence. And don't forget to get 3 bids. And if you're in one of our areas, make sure Desert King Windows is one of them. You'll be glad you did.
We use the best windows, cause nothing works better. Desert King Windows, we knock out the weather.